Welcome everybody to the Ready or Not Community Podcast. Today we have B-Bank, Buckshot, me myself as Durag, Mark, Martin Freeman, and Yuki. We're going to be talking about a training mode first. So what do you guys think?
If the training mode is not gonna be like a SWAT, I'm thinking like the training mode will be like have you, if not in the the kill house, if not in the kill house, I think they will have you in like actually raiding a place, except that there's like civilians, like only one civilian and like one suspect or something. But yeah, that's all I can think of really. If it's not like the SWAT 4 type of
My opinion is pretty simple with this. As long as the tutorial is good, I don't mind where they set it. I just want a tutorial that teaches me all the basics.
It should be like an introduction of how to use stuff and that. You'll have like at first you'll use like this and that. It's pretty self-explanatory and such.
I think it'd be good, but of course, lore-wise, it'd be nice to see some sort of kill house implemented in the storyline. Of course, we had it with obviously it being a SWAT successor, pretty much. We've had in the training rooms for SWAT 4 and other SWAT games. It's a generic kind of kill house, gets you in the mood, gets you in the setting, kind of gives you that strong vibe that you're in training. I think that'd be nice to have, but that's more of like an aesthetically pleasing kind of value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Overall, yeah, I'd say training mode. Yeah, I think that'd be good because it gets a lot of people to grips who just haven't really got that tactical kind of advantage yet. With getting to grips with team play, because some people can't really pick that up straight away and say, right, I know what I'm doing. These guys have experience. We can get along together and connect. But a lot of people may not have that. So it's good to get everyone with the core gameplay aspects before they start going on to the campaign or whatever the scenarios of multiplayer. But yeah.
If I may, I feel that's going to be a case for a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of people are not going to be used to a game like this because it's been a while since we had a game like SWAT 4 where it's this super tactical, like slow movement. It's a different game. It's going to be a different.
I think it's that it's good that there's a clear border where they sacrifice, realism for enjoyable gameplay, but you still have a more overwhelming sense of realism within it. So it just doesn't feel that it's like, what, this wasn't too realistic, but you just don't notice it as much. So I just want to see how they can implement that.
From what we've seen of it, they're doing fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think people should be introduced to the game and that they know not to shoot all the suspects they see, and they should be taught a little about how to use the equipments and stuff.
Yeah, within detail with training, what do you guys want to see with that? Are we talking, just get to grips with who you're going to be tagging along with the campaign? Is it going to be like a lore-wise one, or is it going to be more like getting to grips with?
As I said earlier, I just want a training mode that just teaches me the basics of the gameplay, how everything works. Because that's one frustrating thing about games is a bad tutorial can just ruin the game for me.
What if the training mode is actually like the hub area? Because it seemed like everybody was fighting it out in the original trailer, or not the second trailer. Mm-hmm. Everybody's fighting in a training area. What if that's the hub, and you go out to the next scenario, everybody's just training.
Potentially, possibly, I think that kill house kind of thing could be used as maybe even the whole map that's capable of obviously AI having nodes and waypoints and set walking paths. That would be good to see because it would make your reactions more snappy to the generic, let's say, static sort of plastic target. It would make you more snappy. I think it would capture that atmosphere more because having that hard transition from a kill house all the way to a vibrant, violent suspect is going to be a bit hard for some people. So that I can see that's why we can see in some of the dev blogs, if you guys have seen that gunfight in that kill house kind of area, that's why they added that. Maybe, I'm not sure, but that's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, could be. I think the game should start out with some easier missions and then progress, sort of like SWAT 4.
SWAT 4 did that really well, where you low threat.
There's a guy that's talking on the stairs and he's telling you what to do and he explains it all. I really like that. He had a good voice too.
One of my favorite missions from the beginning of that game was the Fairfax residence, not many targets to shoot at, but it gets you
Yeah,
adjusted to what
I think
SWAT 4 is all about.
that's a really good thing to actually point out, is that with Fairfax, it was that you actually had like most of the time one AI individual to be concerned
Mhm.
about remotely. And I think when you have one individual that you're focusing on, you can get to grips with how the AI works and how they can use, let's say, something to their advantage, how they deploy traps, how like a morale kind of, let's say, stage, how it can slowly break down. I think when you're focusing on an individual character, you can get a wider perspective on how other characters kind of connect with each other and how different situations, which are much bigger, may play out. I think that's one of the
No-
good things about having like a singular kind of target.
And it's not just the gameplay base, all of that. It's also the atmosphere of that mission really set
Mm.
the stage for the game, the rest of the game, because that mission was
Yeah.
dark,
Yeah, I
true.
think you could
really
open up
dark.
you could open up on you could open up on that like lore wise and just say, what happens if you fail. Do you know what I mean? You're going to get people killed. Of course, in a kill house, you're not exactly going to be shooting real people, but you can get that trainer or whoever the guy is who's training you to just kind of emphasize that point, because it'll get people really thinking. Because until
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Finish
I was
up.
saying, because until you fail a mission, then you're gonna actually only realize, and obviously I'm not sure how they're gonna do the score system, but when you fail, that's the only time you're gonna actually realize is actually at the end of the game when they give you the whole score point system and everything, and you're like, oh, what the fuck did I do wrong? Maybe you shot the hostages, maybe you went completely overkill. If they emphasize that enough to you as an individual person in the lore, by obviously voice acting or whatever, maybe you can get people to start thinking about what they're doing.
I think that the training thing is going to be very essential, because I think like an example of this is if anybody's ever played Squad. I like it a lot, but the biggest issue is that nobody really knows how to play it. So I was, trying to talk to the devs, seeing that they could add like some kind of training mode, like how Ready or Not is going to do that, because a lot of players just don't know how to play the game, and they go in there not knowing what to do, and then they pick a squad lead, and it's really required, is what I'm trying to say.
I think
At least from personal
a game like Ready or Not, it's gonna need a tutorial. A game this advanced it's gonna need a tutorial. There's no question about that.
Yeah, that's true.
For a game that really, like, how do I say it? That really needs that sort of like the way that you have to be, like, not only like you don't just go in, you have to be careful. And not to mention, how do I say it? Like, even especially in co-op, if like a player doesn't know what to do, then the whole team is like screwed. Like, and also at times, like, if like it really shows how like one person can like change the whole how do I say it, the teamwork aspect. So if like a player or two doesn't know how to do it or how to play, they will basically just screw themselves over, regardless of how they go on with it. That's really why we need the training to be a bit. That's why I think the training should be essential. That's really it.
I enjoy games
agree.
that teach me how to play the game well.
All right, so we're going to be pushing on to the next one, which is menu. What do you think the menu is going to be like, and what would you expect to be in it, or what do you want?
A simple menu, really.
Simplistic. Maybe
yeah.
something different that maybe just sets it apart, I think, but more straightforward. I'm not really a fan of those which have like a very long transition between each click. I think that's just more unsatisfying, even if you get that aesthetic kind of cool looking thing where it subscribes
It's
to like
yeah,
the theme
it's
of
like just
the
get
theme
me
of
in the
it.
game already.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I've seen menus where like it's just like all the stuff is at the top, and you'll just see like a video in the background of like random stuff going on, and then I'll see like a character just like standing there, and it zooms in on that character when you want to go to something specific, back and forth. I mean, I think that it's cool, but I guess you guys are right, it does take a while.
Yeah, I think menu design is really important, because that's a problem, in my opinion, that lots of games with a small development studio face, that they have ugly user interfaces. So for me, it's pretty important that Ready or Not has a good menu system. It kind of needs to fit the feel of the game, but not go too overboard with it.
Well, yeah. Actually, in my opinion, in the menu system is like not too complicated, because the menu drops in after the game, so is the main menu is the second thing you see after starting up the game, and I think it's very important. Like a bad main menu can just ruin the entire game. Actually, in my opinion. So, yeah, main menu is like a cover of a book. It's the first point of the game when you first open when you first open up the game. So uh, the main menus I think has to be something special. So this try to make develop the main menu with something special in it, and but not too special. You know.
Yeah, according to FAQ, Gunter already said something about it, saying that the UI they're trying to make it in a different way. It has a specific, unique, particular aesthetic. I have no idea what it's going to look like, but hopefully it's something that we all remember when we go into the game. Does anybody else have anything to say about this, or can we move?
I don't want too many things getting in the way of just me getting into a game. That's like my least favorite thing, is just going menu after menu after menu just to get into a game.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last thing I want.
Okay. Anybody else? Nope.
No.
Yeah, we're cool.
All right. Okay. Now let's move on to how fast will the movement speed be when being scoped in?
Well, it definitely has to be slower than normal movement, because also in real life when you are like scoping, you're focusing for engaging the enemy, obviously. So you have to be totally focused. But you will obviously need to move less more slowly if you're scoping, but not too slowly, because that will be too slow. So my opinion that they get the scoping movement a little bit slowly, but not too slowly. That's the best thing.
I think relatively slow, but not too slow. But of course, I'm saying if we take the incremental kind of walking speed to account, I'd say just below walking normally. I'd say so, not too fast, not jogging, not sprinting, just relatively slow, so you can consider your surroundings. Obviously, pop shots and not have your
slow enough to remain accurate.
Fast. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
What if? No, go ahead.
Well, for like aiming down sights or ADSing, as I said, I think if you're standing, you're obviously gonna be a bit slower than normal walking, and then when you crouch, obviously you'll be a bit more slower than expected, and probably slow to nothing basically. But yeah, go on, Durag.
What if they give you the option to up the ante in that you can move faster with the scope? What if they give you that option, or actually, better question, should that be an option to make the scope go faster?
No. I don't think so. The problem with this as I said, if you're aiming down the sides, you're obviously focusing on getting engaged by an enemy, or you're focused engaging an enemy. So I don't think while moving the speed of your movement obviously determines how the gunfire and the bullets which had to go. So if you're running while shooting, it will just the bullets will go all over the place. But if you move nice and smoothly, you have better chance to hit the target. So I don't think that should be an option, in my opinion.
Okay, so go ahead.
I don't think it should be an option, because it's going to be useless to try to sprint and aim down sights because of how inaccurate you're going to be when doing it. If they're going for the realistic shooting, then it's going to have no use, I feel.
So, Durag, can you repeat the question again?
So the question is, how fast will the movement speed be when being scoped in? But I also added, should that even be an option?
Okay,
if somebody can actually move it back and forth.
Okay, to that I think not even. not even like once, because well, here's my two piece about it. When you are in down sights, when you aim down sights, you want to go for the enemy. You don't want to be faster, as they said, move as fast as you can shoot, which means that you don't go too fast unless you want to actually avoid the enemy. But I don't think there should be a reason to even aim down sights, in my opinion, because why would you even, if you're gonna look for the enemy, why would you go too fast about it? And your focus is to aim your gun at the enemy, in my opinion, or the suspect. But yeah, you have to aim fast. In my opinion, not walk fast. But yeah, go on.
I was about to say, and anyone who shot guns before can tell you, what you want to be as accurate as possible with a firearm, you need to have your rest, or however you're shooting the gun, you need it to be as steady as possible. And the last thing I want to be doing is moving around with my aim, jumping all over the place. It's just too inaccurate, I would say.
Yeah.
Now, another thing, do we think that scopes are a good idea, or should it always be iron sights?
Yeah, of course they will.
Especially in close quarters.
Of course they will. Things like, iron sights and stuff. Yeah, I think it's just personal preference, really. I think all of us would have gone for some sort of close quarters combat, compatible sight, let's say holographic. I'm not too sure of ACOG, but red dots and all, I think would be a common appearance, ready or not, because very uncommon to see just basic carry handle sights and such. Very
Yeah, I
uncommon.
think it should
Yeah.
definitely be an option.
Well, it would be most likely. I think no, it would be most likely rather than than like those. How do I say it? Those? It was like this one scope, but it's like it looks like a scope, but it's just a red dot, really. But I think it also depends on like which weapon you use. If, for example, I think if you use like an M4, I think you might want to put a holographic on that thing rather than the actual scope. Or, for example, let's say if you want to go for MP5, so you might rather want to put a simple reflex red dot rather than that scope you got there. Get me? This is a CQB type of.
I don't know, because
I feel it's going to be all up to preference, what optics
Yeah.
we prefer. I may be
Mainly
the person who
preference.
prefers the larger reticle of a EOTech than a smaller dot of, say, a Trijicon.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time in SWAT 4, we were running with iron sights, so I mean, do we...
Well, that was because back then it was hard to mount stuff because the rails weren't that popular at the time.
But don't you think that it would...
You still had like permanent carry handles on M4s at the time.
Do you think that it would change gameplay at all if we actually added in any type of sights instead of just having iron?
I think it would be a vital choice to have that as an option because having a red dot is just so much easier than using iron sights because you get a clear view of your target, which is important for being accurate. And I like having a small dot as a point of aim than iron sights personally.
I'm actually curious to know what the statistics would be when the game actually releases as to who actually uses sights and who uses iron sights. I kind of want to know what would happen.
Personally,
I think it would be random.
Go ahead.
I think it would be random. My bad. Go on, Buckshot.
Personally, I feel that if people are going to be playing the game as competitively as possible, I think they're going to go for the best option, which is, in my opinion, red dot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the case for real life. Everyone in the military nowadays is red dot. Nobody uses iron sights. Everyone's using red dot.
Interesting.
What about holographics, like EOTechs?
Well, that too. That just optics in general. I mean, optics are always going to be better than iron sights.
Yeah, but we're talking close quarters here. It's not like they're going to be like
just go with the
far
red dot.
away.
You don't need a magnified red dot. Just go with like an unmagnified red dot, like a hologram. Holographic sights aren't magnified.
It was much better to be snapping on a reticle than snapping on some sort of iron sight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's going to provide a clear view of target and can just give you a point of aim, a simple point of aim.
Interesting. Okay, so I asked this question a while ago to see if there was actually, any animals in the game, and the dev responded with, "There's canines." So the question here is, under which circumstances are the canines deployed? Which I find very interesting.
Now, Now I'm really skeptical about
Well,
this because I thought that it was going to be that the law was not exempt from having dogs and all that. I would have thought we'd have fucking
Maybe-
pit bulls and all that and trap house and stuff like that. But
Maybe low risk warrants with
yeah,
the like
drugs.
low armed,
Lightly armed.
lightly armed, suspects.
Well, canines, right? I think for canines, I think they're most likely gonna be like for, the possible place of like a drug lab or something, like places that they come for women because of like they're looking for drugs or something like that.
I'm
narcotics and
thinking.
all that.
I'm thinking this links in with that score point system. 'Cause if you lot remember, we had that thing with interrogators and how they would come into play and they cost money, and how it's like more of like a squad combined system of it's the decision of the squad to be calling these types of things. Considering you have the tool kind of like side of kit, is that going to fall into one of those like point system things? Because you had the interrogators coming in and they can make life easier for the SWAT team. But what if the point system also relies on the canines? So you can call them in if you want. So
Well,
potentially they could sniff out drugs or whatever you're looking for to be
Or
collecting.
traps.
Or
They could,
traps.
like bombs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So in the chat, Whiskey's saying canines could be good for bomb defusal modes or drug search, maybe for the second non-lethal option, but they hurt suspects, so maybe you lose points when deployed.
Yeah.
We could also be reading too much into this. Like maybe it's just like a side thing, like you could see them on the side.
Yeah, true. But
but
if you do think about it, though, we have that system for interrogators for a reason. It's not just going to be spending points for an interrogator, is it? You're going to be spending points on
Mhm.
other
You mean
things as well.
negotiator.
So it's entirely possible
you're right.
that that dog is going to be some bit of kit that costs a lot of money and can only be used a certain amount of time. Same thing with an interrogator. You can't use an interrogator 2 times in, can you?
Oh, you know what? I think I get what he was trying to say. So the moment that you buy the dog, it sniffs out where the bomb actually is, so it gives you more of a advantage. I think that's what he was trying to say in the chat there.
I'm not sure we could add on that, but that's interesting to think that that could be part of the point system. I get a real strong vibe of insurgency if you guys get that kind of point system.
I'm wondering how in PvP that would be balanced, though.
That might be removed.
That may-
No, because PvP is going to be different from the co-op.
Oh yeah,
it's not
that's
going to
right.
be the same.
isn't it?
I feel like the dogs shouldn't be in PvP.
No, they won't.
definitely
they
not.
won't be like
No.
The only problem I have with the idea of canines, it could make like low risk warrants way too easy to do. If I said like we said earlier, it could be really effective on lightly armed
Yeah,
suspects.
that's the point. Yeah.
I think the canine units should be used for like scanning enemy positions and also like taking out light armored or unarmored targets, because I don't know, the canine unit is often used like for interrogation and scanning out enemy positions and scanning out bombs and drugs and all kinds of stuff. So when encountering heavily armored suspects, I don't think that they should be deployed because it's risky. Because it's
Well, it depends. I think that's obviously now going on to the call of obviously the SWAT officers, e.g. the players. I think with that, that's just going to be either you're going to roll the dice and take that risk, really, because, I think a paramilitary guy compared to a criminal, he's probably just going to know to take down that dog first thing he sees it with, some sort of spray of an AK, and, you pretty much lost all your points. That's when it gets harder.
Yeah.
Well, an average Joe who's got a snub nose in his pants robbing a gas station in Detroit will run out of the fucking store when he sees like an angry German Shepherd running in. Yeah, there's a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
I'm just wanting to make sure that all the missions are not super easy. And I think the K9 could potentially make all the lower risk warrants like super easy.
And I think that AI transition will be an exception because, of course, we know AI gets smarter as you go on with obviously different training, law, background, etc. When you have that, the things you may think, it's going to work all the time when I just randomly start pressing the point button to get this dog. Maybe all the time it won't work. Maybe he'll get absolutely peppered the first thing he goes through the door. You're going to have to think about the way you're going to plan out things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that the dog's gonna make anything easier. I think it's just gonna locate where the bomb actually is, and even then you'll still have to go out and clear everybody. I think it's the negotiators that's going to make it a bit easier because they can negotiate for hostages to leave, or maybe to give themselves up, like give certain people up. I'd imagine that that's what it's going to be like. Go ahead.
Okay. I think the dog will be useful if it has a camera on its back. I know it sounds stupid and weird on the first thought, but actually the dog will be really useful for scouting out enemy positions if you can watch over in his perspective he can maybe crawl through spaces that you can't go past them and yeah, you know what I'm saying.
That's possible. I think that's really plausible. But the thing is, again,
information is power, and any way of getting it.
Dog's going to be really, really close to its owner, and I think dog handler on the team, because I think you can't really have the power of that dog being passed on to everyone. I think it's going to be passed on to a certain person, because commanding a dog, we haven't even gotten to how hard it's going to be to actually command the dog. It may be an absolute pest to actually command, or it could be a dream to actually take control of it. So we have to see how that works out.
I think the camera on its back would be a really good idea.
That would be
as
a
like
idea.
a way of gaining information, because
we've seen the head cam with the SWAT officers, of course, with the ops core helmets and the ACH style helmets. It'd be nice to see that, because he could get, like BB Bank said, he can get to vantage points and a bit of scouting around.
Information's power.
Yeah. Speaking of which, go ahead.
Well, yeah. I think since you said that they will have cameras and stuff on the canines, I think there's gonna be this one feature where you can. It might be impossible, but I think you can control the dogs so that they move to a certain place. Unless like what Martin said, they're gonna be a fucking pest to deal with, and I have to shoot them.
Yeah.
Speaking of information, how much information are we actually going to get at the start of a mission? Because I remember back in SWAT 4, there was one mission where they literally had a map drawn on toilet paper, and that wasn't even the right. The right freaking.
Yeah. Oh, sorry for interrupting you. Clearly all missions have to have a little backstory the player always has to know what happened before the mission and what is the plan. How are we gonna make the entry? What there are armored suspects inside or unarmored suspects? How many suspects? How many civilians inside? They also will also have to see some plans from the building. They also need to have a suggestion what equipment they need to choose. So yeah. Well, I'm not saying exact information. There's exactly four civilians and 5 suspects at the building, because that will be a little bit easier. But still, give the players some information that they can go for it, and yeah.
I think the thing about
Ron Stoppable just put in Ron just put a thing of the FAQ for Ready or Not.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah. I know that the devs talked about it, but I was just referencing SWAT 4 to see if it would be anything different.
Yeah, it's a good point to make, because I think it will actually extend the variety of ways you can actually go, and I think it will actually test the prediction, of obviously the SWAT officers, players, of course, of how they're going to go around the situation. You can't be splitting the beans to them, can you? I think egging it on that maybe the information they've got from whoever's the witness or whoever the fastest is to respond to them and to give them the SWAT element information. I think it'd be good to have, because one mission you can have all the layout, all everything. The next mission, you're in a trap house in the middle of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? You're going to have no information whatsoever what's going on down there. You're going to have to go off your gut feeling.
Yeah.
You may not know how many suspects are on.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this is ripped straight from the FAQ. It's all missions begin with a tactical analysis and planning along with situation overview, briefing, known suspects, civilians, bios, and will be able to select teams and shut off power grids, which is actually pretty interesting. Blockade entrances, create or choose new points of entry, coordinate strikes, maps, drawings, yeah, this is overwhelming compared to SWAT 4, I'll be honest.
Hopefully not too overwhelming.
Well,
Yeah.
I like to have a little bit of information, but not like completely mapped out where everything is. Obviously, it's not going to be that, but I mean, like, not too much information, but not too little
I'm
information.
actually more interested
either.
in the possibility of having disinformation along with the briefing to me to think, oh, there's going to be so and so amount of hostages, and it's like there's like 20 more than you expected. Like you think something, and when you actually do the mission, it's
Yeah,
completely
that'd be
Okay.
interesting.
Um,
But like,
in terms of okay, which topic are we on again? Are we talking about that how they're gonna
Pre-planning.
make entry? Yeah, pre-planning. Okay, for in terms of maps, okay, I believe there's like at some point in that mission where we don't have anything at all in mind, as in like at times. Okay, so for example, we go in the bank. There's bank robbers, right? Okay, so obviously they're gonna give us like all the bank, like how it looks like, all the layout. We all know that, but for a certain time we don't know if like there's like for example like a fucking hideout. We don't know what we're going into here, so unless it's somehow a way for them to know the layout. And then like imagine how like when we don't have any map at all, so we don't know what to rely on. So we are forced to go in dark and blind, as in like we don't know what we're going into. We don't know where they are. We don't know the position and such. We just go in blind. What do you guys think about that? If like there's a certain time where there will be a map like that.
Well, you won't necessarily be going blind 100%. You're obviously going to have some sort.
We're gonna
of
have
turn on
some
what's going
general
on.
information.
What if you go in blind, you get more points?
What do you mean going blind?
Well-
What do you mean going in blind though?
Like if you don't use any of the perks and you just go in blind, like is
Well,
that more points for
Well,
you?
you
Like-
will do that one of the first scenarios. You won't have a lot of points when you start off.
Wouldn't the game reward you for using your app correctly?
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Like it'll reward you more points for not using the perks because you're cool, I guess.
That doesn't make sense.
How does it not?
No, because
Still,
because when
with-
you start the game, it depends. Because are they going to be giving you points at the start, and it's your decision how much you use them, and then when you run out, you can't get any more, or is it you start with no points and you earn them when you, let's say, earn more? How do I say it? Better scores on the end of each scenario. How do we get points first of all, and how do we spend them secondly?
Well, they said that there is a point system
Yeah.
so that when you get into the start of a mission, you can let go and get a shield or something. But I mean, there's only about 2 to be allowed on the field. But if you want to get one, it's there. There's also, I believe, battering rams, which I think you can also get with points. At least I think. It's been a while since I've looked at the FAQ, so let's see if FAQ's posting anything about it. Doesn't look like it. But at least that's how I think it's gonna go. Anybody else have anything to chime on that?
Oh, sorry, what was it?
Do you think that there's going to be some kind of point system? So like when you win a mission, you get a certain amount of points. So at the start of every mission, you could go in and get better stuff to use. At least that's how I think it's going to be. But I don't know.
well, I think it's been confirmed once that there will be some kind of system to buy guns and stuff with as you progress. I don't know if that's going to be points or just like levels.
I have no idea.
That's impossible.
It's not impossible.
I think it would make the game a lot more balanced.
Actually, no. I think they will be unlocked after each campaign.
but I'm talking. But I'm talking campaign and co-op. I'm not talking like
Well,
multiplayer. I have no idea what the multiplayer is going to be like.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
but-
They'll be unlocked within like each mission. Get me? Like after this mission, you'll get this one. In this one mission, you'll get to try this out, and then after that, you get to as long as the campaign progresses, you get to use it. Get me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You unlock it as you progress through the campaign.
I see
Which
that's possible because that's probably the only way you can actually earn them sensibly.
There is such thing as giving the player too many options at the beginning of the game, and they may not know how to use it correctly.
Actually, wait, didn't they say that everything was going to be open to you? But except for certain things, like the shield and the battering ram, something like that.
Maybe.
I remember seeing it on the Reddit, but I don't recall what he said.
I'm
Yeah,
not
same.
too sure about that one.
Okay, let's move on to the next question.
We've had one with the general theme of it being in the night. We can go over that and the dark theme of the game, and we can give that. After that, we can go on to flashlights and NVGs, because Trigger brought that up. Flashlights and
Yeah.
NVGs.
All right. Well,
Because I've seen, because at the moment we've got two night vision systems. We've got the ANPVS 7 Generation 3s, and we've got ANPVS 15s. And I'm thinking, are there going to be point system ones? Because we can't be walking around with ANPVS 15s in the middle of the daylight, are we? There's just going to be no points. Is that going to be about the point system too? These night vision systems? Because then on top of that, we're going to be spending on cutting the power, because we've been told that we can cut the power. That may cost points.
oh yes, there is a point
I
system.
like the idea of night vision being a bit
So there's
more
a point.
limited,
There's a
so-
valid point for having these on the point system. You know, with things like the night vision systems and electricity cutting of power.
I
Because now you have a
personally
reason to
think-
use them.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I personally think night vision should be a little bit harder to get. So maybe some missions. Oh, I had to spend a lot more points on certain things, and now I can't get night visions. Then you're forced to go in with flashlights. I think that would be a really interesting concept.
For a
Well, I mean-
flashlight. No, never mind. Go ahead.
Does SWAT always use night vision?
No,
or
it's uncommon.
Not all.
It's uncommon because it's very
Not all of
expensive.
them.
It's very
It's
expensive. to be
extremely
handling.
expensive. Night vision still costs above $1,000 to get. Not every agency
Some,
has the money to
in
afford
some
it.
agencies, they have to pay even upfront, maybe about 10,000 for only one pair. It's ridiculous. It
It's
Only
is
like-
ridiculous.
It's stupid expensive.
Only like
but-
special forces, PMCs, and military forces, military soldiers like have access to the night vision.
hmm
But
And
of
night
course, with
vision
law enforcement,
night
they
vision
pay-
goggles are hard to use.
They pay for them up
Like-
front, of course, from different, agencies and of course, development companies and stuff like that. So
Night
that's where
vision
a lot
is
of
also
money
harder to use
out.
because it distorts your vision.
But considering we have ANPVS Generation 3s, I'm considering that some of these have come out of Iraq and have been given to the law enforcement. So we see that kind of transition of police militarization kind of just come in and merge and add a bit more to the story and thicken it up, I think, with the plot. But in reality, I wouldn't want to go too deep on that because that's quite deep, to be talking about.
I want the
Right.
game to be political, but not too political.
Yeah,
Like,
not
it's all
getting
about
into it
politics.
too far.
Okay, so next let's talk about the sound design. What do you
Solid.
think? Like, what's gonna be good for you? Like, is music gonna come in on a specific note, or like the moment that you look at something?
It's not even music. I think it's just we could cut out the music and not even make a soundtrack for the game. I think the gunshots and the violence and all that, and I think in that kind of dark atmosphere coming in together, you don't need a soundtrack. You really
I
don't.
think
Well,
how
there is a soundtrack.
Yeah, of course there is.
firearms. They need to make the firearms like when you're firing a gun in close quarters, it needs to make everything else audible inaudible.
Yeah, but you can feel even with the gunshots, you can tell that they're even trying to replicate little things like even pressure. You can feel the pressure of the room when you let
Yeah,
off
I
the
can
star, for
contest
sure.
to this. I can contest to this because I've fired guns indoors before, and it rattles the whole
Yeah, you
range.
feel the
when you're
pressure.
doing it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's also really important that you can tell
was-
which direction the sounds come from.
This one time, I was at an indoor shooting range, and somebody brought in an AK, and that really rattled them. It's like I had to step out. It was when I was young, and we had to leave the range because it was just too much for me at the time.
But bring up things that are too much for individuals. I think the suppression thing will come in actually too. I want to see how the pressure actually transitions from, let's say, some sort of 9mm, 9x19 pistol to obviously a 7.62 AK.
I like the idea of if you have an extremely loud gun, the suspects in the other room may surrender altogether because
yeah.
they hear the thunder of a
Yeah.
M14 go off in the
We've
next room.
seen
They're
that.
like, nope.
Well, your guy
We've
flinch.
seen that with the one of the criminals in one of the what was it? It was like a test on the dev blog. One of the videos on YouTube. They
Mhm.
overwhelmed the guy so much that he actually let off his shotgun at a wall when they were firing at him. So they're like overwhelming firepower right on it.
Like it could
So he's just
actually
absolutely
affect
panicking.
accuracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Are we still good on this topic, or do we move on?
Anybody else have an opinion?
Anybody else?
No, we can just move on.
Nothing. We're good.
Yep.
Nope, I don't have anything yet.
Okay, esports. should this be something that the devs do, which they already said that they wouldn't, or should it be up to the fans to decide whether or not that happens?
I personally think not, because in my opinion, this how do I say it? This maybe individually, but to me, when you think about like, if you've seen the second teaser on the devlog, you can clearly see in the PvP as they sort of the stone shown my bad. It's pretty clear that to me that in my opinion, it's not supposed to be on any esports in my opinion, because I think the game, yeah, I know the intensity sometimes, but come on, esports really? We're not going there, in my opinion.
Well, I really don't think the devs should involve themselves in esports because that's what we saw with Rainbow Six. And then, like, when the devs focused on esports, they removed elements of realism just for the sake of esports. And I think I speak for most of the fans of this game when I say that I don't want this game to be like Rainbow Six Siege in its core gameplay.
Like
I
they
have to
remove.
disagree on that. I have to disagree on that because I feel it's good to have that element of competitiveness within the game, but to a realistic extent. I think when we were referring to it, we kind of gave it a broad generalization of every single tournament is ESL or esports. But I think it's quite a good thing to have tournaments in the game, but of course, at a sensible level and on the still on the emphasis of ready or not gameplay, not running around doing all this type of action-packed kind of casual shooter kind of thing. But
Yeah,
I don't want to see the devs force the game being
where
It's it's definitely good to hear I think that the developers should not force the game to be focused on esport at all, but I think it's good to have at least a league or a place where you can test your skills, or you can play with experienced players just by fun, or you're looking for just or you're looking for die hardcore competition with huge many prizes. You can find them all. So it's good to have at least like an official tournament or championship, but even I think the developers even can make a special version to the game where only only the esporters can play it. They can make an esport version to the game, but do not go too deep, because that will just ruin the that will make a serious impact on the game community. That's all.
I think an example of this is Halo. When they made Halo 5, it was essentially an esport. It was the devs that made the game into an esport, and not a lot of fans liked that because it really screwed with the single player, and it was just like a bad single player, but the esport was okay. And basically, what I'm trying to say is that the devs should not focus on esports. Like, sure, make a multiplayer, make it the way that you want to make it, but it should be up to the fans to decide if they want to make it into something more, At least that's what I think.
well, yeah, maybe we'll even see people trying speedruns of the game on higher difficulties. Like, it's not like a game that's meant for speedrunning, but like SWAT 4 had a really small speedrunning scene, but it would be interesting to see people compete in how fast they can complete certain levels of the game.
That's actually pretty interesting, because how do you? Because it's not like they know where everything is. It's going to be randomized.
Yeah, exactly. Then that's what makes it suitable.
I think this game has some elements of a good esport. I mean, it has exciting gameplay as much as the slow.
Yeah, because SWAT 4 had a lot of interest. Like, I was a part of a official championship stream, which is also being hosted by B Banks in here.
Yeah.
And they had a very interesting way of trying to, win the game. And I was actually very intrigued, and I would like to see it, happen in Ready or Not, but not by the devs themselves. Let them focus on the game so that, it's good.
Yeah, Team Fortress 2 is the same way, where a lot of the competitive side of it is community made. because I think the people who play the games will always know better how the game should be played or how the game should be configured.
Yeah, and one more thing. As the Rex said, I think the developers should concentrate to the game, not to the esports. And I think if they want to make an esport league of this game, they just have to leave it on the community, because I think the community will do an equal job, an equally good job as the developers do. So, and finally, I hope that Swap 4 had and personally I think too that Ready or Not will have some pretty good game elements that will make Ready or Not a good esport game. But it probably have some downs, because like if they bring on the stingers, like Spot 4 has stingers, and everybody in the Spot 4 community hates stingers, obviously, because the the basic tactics in the PvP session is just throwing stingers rush, and I don't and in an esports competitive scene, that should never happen, because that is so boring, and that is not competitive at all. This is just like the players are just using the stingers as an inhabited trolling equipment for others. So I don't really recommend the usage of I really don't recommend the usage of stingers in Ready or Not, if it will have an esports league. But yeah, I hope that Ready or Not doesn't have stingers, because yeah, let's face it, stingers are really bad.
No, it does have stingers. It's just, how often are we going to be seeing it in the multiplayer itself?
Oh, yeah.
It really depends on the objective. Like with the one that I saw you guys playing, I believe it was VIP, I think it was.
Yeah.
They were tossing stingers left and right, because the way that it works is you're supposed to handcuff them, and if you handcuff them, it gives you more points than just shooting and killing them.
Can the suspects do the same?
Yeah, which is the weird part.
Wait, suspects
Yeah, maybe-
cuffing cops?
Well, hostages.
Well, yeah, you can consider them hostages instead of arresting them.
Mhm. Okay, well, I guess this is going to be like a freeform right here, because it seems like we're out of questions unless somebody else has something to say.
Oh no, wait, we have one more thing: the atmosphere.
Oh yeah.
Atmosphere. Okay.
Well, I have to say that yeah, I saw the 2 trailers of Ready or Not, and that classical music, that trailer elements, that dark environment, and the political elements, and scary but actionful environment is a really interesting concept, and I think that this game will also have a bit of horror vibe in it, if you know what I mean. But yeah. It's an interesting concept, in my opinion, because mixing I seen I never seen a game before where the atmosphere combines actionful tactical engagement with a little bit of horror vibes. So that's just my opinion. It's an interesting concept.
So the atmosphere, it really depends on what mission, because if we're talking about maybe like a school, maybe like outdoors, like how is that gonna feel? Maybe that train, or that what's that shipping yard or train yard where all the big crates and stuff, and it's gonna be raining and it's
Yeah,
I think with
It's gonna be
I think with
muddy.
things like the school, I think it's going to be a much more distorted kind of vibe. I think because it's just
I mean, if they're
with
going to be
with
covering
human
things,
morals, you know what I mean, you're going to be like in your mind, who on the right mind, normal mind, would go up and shoot a school?
For the
That's the thing.
school part, I'm pretty sure it's gonna like give
It's probably
us a
gonna be
lot
sad.
of chills.
It's probably going to be pretty
it's gonna
sad
the
because
talking
pretty
some-
you know, it's sad.
you have to hold yourself back because remember you're supposed to take him into custody. You have to be sure to take him into custody before you you can't just gun him down. If you know what I'm saying.
That's the point, and I think that's where the atmosphere thing comes in, and all that kind of morality kind of decisions and things. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I mean that comes into play, and you've got things like the soundtrack, the atmosphere, the
That's-
kind of unfiltered blood and gore, and all that. You just think to yourself, you don't need a soundtrack. You don't need any of this A chord or whatever it's called, that air song, whatever we've had in the Revolt. You don't need that. When you have that in of itself, and they can capture it so vividly and accurately, I think that's enough. I think that really is enough.
I'm hoping the scheme will do is really like one problem with video games nowadays. Enemies like in games are just mere targets. Like, and I want the game to go into like the human factor of who you're shooting it at and who you're trying to arrest. Like, I'm hoping it'll have like backgrounds of what's the motive of the suspect that I'm trying to arrest or shoot.
Or like you're shooting somebody and he actually starts screaming for his life because he's been hit. And there's also people that are tied up that are screaming at you to, get them out of there. And then there's also, guys yelling, SWAT, open up, or SWAT, banging on doors.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the atmosphere part comes in. It's really important for the game. If we had a school, scenario with no sounds and no audio, no nothing, it just shows you how powerful audio is in games. And I think especially with this, when it's got this type of, distorted, really eerie and questionable atmosphere, let's say America, like I said again many times, turning its fucking head, you're really going to be questioning the type of scenarios you're going to be in, getting into.
Like if we're going into a school shooting scenario and the guy we're trying to stop is like just a kid, that could be potentially really interesting.
yeah.
Like for like the
Yeah, the lights turned off, fire drill.
You
maybe
mean the
water's
sprinklers?
going off because he shot
the
something.
sprinklers are going off, and you're just staring at this kid holding an AR, and it's like, what do you do now?
You're cool. That's the thing. You're cool.
What about the kid that surrenders?
Arrest them then.
Right.
And,
Sorry for interrupting.
If he's not pointing the gun at you and he puts the gun on the ground, then you arrest him. But if he's like actively returning fire towards you, you shoot. I would say would be the correct call.
And you'll find a special moment, a really interesting moment, example. I'm gonna tell that we are that the SWAT team that are we playing now is clearing the school, and suddenly the school's power generators just shuts down, and all the lights in the building had just shut off, and all the building just come to dark, and that will be a bit of surprise first. Second, it will be a real surprise, and finally when you find all of the children in one room, tighten up and tighten up, and you rescue them. That will be just a really weird and horrendous feeling. So yeah, this game has some dark vibes in it, which I think is pretty cool.
It's not going to be just school shootings too. It's also going to be like human trafficking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's going to be the darkest points in the game, for sure.
There's also some levels that we haven't heard of before, because I remember, we only know about
we've seen
5
on the
levels,
trailer, yeah.
6 levels,
Okay.
and for what we've seen, there's maybe like 5 or 6 levels, so we're not even sure as to what's going to be next. I mean, the pictures on the Instagram might actually give us a hint, but we don't know for sure. So I have to wonder how those atmospheres are going to be, because I know that some of them are going to be light, as in like it's going to be daylight, but for the most part, you know, when you're trying to save that area.
For the school shooting setting, is it gonna be like a cloudy or rainy day or something? Not like nighttime or anything.
I don't think it should be overly dramatic.
I don't think it
think
really matters too much because you're going to be
I mean,
indoors for the most of the
The
part.
school shooting in itself is already dramatic. It doesn't need anything like a stormy day. It should just be plain day because it speaks for itself, doesn't it?
I mean, I could imagine like the lights being off and the fire drill going with the sprinklers, but
That's already an intense enough scene as it is.
I mean, you're inside, and if it's raining, then you're not going to really
Yeah.
see it that much. This is on a school day too, so it's going to be like early day, midday, somewhere around there.
Also, one more thing. I'm gonna just straight up ask a question because I'm just curious and like if we're talking about the dark elements of the game, like what do you guys think that the PEGI rating for the game? What should it be like? The PEGI
18,
rating?
no doubt 18.
It's going to be mature.
Yeah.
Peggy 18 and mature. And,
Yeah, if you've got things like, you know, like victims of drugs,
Like-
you know,
like blood,
domestic
drugs.
abuse and all this, you know, gore
blood
and
and
stuff
gore,
like that.
intense
they're
violence,
gonna-
strong
if-
language.
If they're doing this all uncensored, then yeah, it's gonna be. I feel it's gonna probably.
Well, no,
be
considering it's an
18+.
indie game and obviously, you know, most likely only on PC, it's not going to get a massive round of controversy. Well, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah,
I'm
not
kind
yet.
of
We've got to see.
I'm kind of hoping it does cause controversy because we
I
need
kind
to
of
be a
hope
bit
it
more open.
doesn't.
I'm just interested to see the controversy as well.
I mean, I would like to play this game without somebody going after it. That would be great.
Yeah.
But we all know that there's like a lot of topics in here that are going to be very touchy. I've talked about this a while ago, but you know, it's not like I explicitly said it out loud. I only talked about it in private because I don't want like the media coming up and being like, "Hey, there's a lot of stuff in here. We should probably ban this game."
I keep telling people they're very brave for what they do, I think, and having that kind of unfiltered perspective on, you know, reality, I think, with Ready or Not is one of the things they do that's one of the greatest things about the game itself. But yeah, I think that's...
It
one of
will
the
be
biggest parts
very
about it.
interesting to see how they handle controversy if it does happen.
I think they've given a warning enough times, I think, that, you know what, this game is just... It's
If
not
you
gonna be
can't
for
handle
everyone.
this, do not play it.
Some
I'm-
people can't accept
I'm
that,
all for
unfortunately.
that. I mean, I think the developers need to stop censoring themselves just because a few people got angry. They should just let you know up front, hey, this game has this and this and this. Don't play it if you can't handle that. We're not going to change the game just for you.
If that game is out, I'll try my best to be prepared to handle the shit they got in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Well, this is the end of the podcast. I want to thank everybody for coming out to talk and listen.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
It
welcome.
was a pleasure. It was a real pleasure to like in a first podcast to talk in a real podcast. So thank you.
Anybody has any last words?
Yeah. That luckily I could be in.
Oh
this
yeah,
one since
Void,
I
please
missed Ready
release the
too.
trailer already.
Oh no.
Like I was saying,
And you said no more than 3 months.
I was saying, you know, thanks for being able to coming there. Thank you for listening in. This is the Ready Not Community Podcast.
See you later, guys.
So, yeah.
Alright.
See ya.
Bye-bye.